So social collective intelligence is going to have impact, of course, in many different areas, but I would like to focus here on the impact on education and on science and innovation. About education, it's already a reality, the fact that ICT is constantly or even more massively being used to improve class teaching, for instance, by the use of supports like slides, and also, of course, by the taping of whole courses that then becomes available to the wide public, even outside of the home institution, becomes really a commodity for the whole society. And this also means that, for instance, students could design their own curriculum within their own institution, even if, of course, they can benefit from courses given at other classes, which become available through the social media and the internet. But at the same time, they can also try to interact with their own teaching institution or with their own peers in order to come up with the individual learning path, so that they can better exploit their skills, their preferences, and use the best what is out there, and of course trying to make the biggest profit of the current structures and the current resources. Because of course, when you have this traditional one-to-many approach of class teaching, of ordinary teaching, instead, of course, there is one guy who tries to reach a bunch of people with different, slightly different background and certainly different individual features. And this is not always the best way to do it. Somehow, usually you can do a good service for the good guys, but somehow you risk to lose also the guys who are not necessarily worse than the other ones. It may have some different way of reaching conclusions, of developing new knowledge. And about the contribution to science and innovation, of course, it's kind of well known now that we need larger teams, and we need to use as much as possible other people's expertise. This traditional approach of having just few people meeting in a room a few times and try to do the best they could to address problems is kind of surpassed, because I would say nowadays challenges, many phenomena that most of the phenomena people are studying today are really complex. They entail many different parts. It's difficult to understand what are the relevant variables, and then it's really important to take advantage of not necessarily expertise, but just inputs, regular input that also ordinary citizens can give. So perhaps it's not obvious to find a way to optimally coordinate these things, but definitely this is an asset that we should go for in the near future. So of course there are many challenges related to social collective intelligence, the best ways to make these things work. Some of them, of course, have been addressed also by the other members of the board, but I would like to focus on what, in my opinion, is really a very central feature, which is the importance of control, control in two ways. Control somehow, of course, there is a component of, and that's a nice part of it, of self-organization. People do not really, follow what other people are doing or what other people are telling them. There are some basic rules, and of course, then people try to follow this rule and try to make the best of it. And that's exactly just from this spontaneous input somehow that we can make progress. But at the same time, of course, if there is no coordination, if this thing is left somehow too free and too decentralized, then of course there is an easy risk of manipulation and misuse of this. And this, of course, would be a disaster, because then you get just the opposite of what you can get. You can get just... So how to do it is not obvious. What is the way how to somehow provide this kind of control to avoid these manipulations? But in my opinion, it's one of the key challenges for the near future in social collective intelligence. So of course, social collective intelligence will become one of the paradigms of the near future. It's already ongoing. There are already some examples which were already given here. But as far as I'm concerned, I would say that this thing ties very well with my own expertise and research interests, because my training is in statistical physics, and now I'm what is called a computational scientist by using somehow statistical physics methods. And one of the main concepts of statistical physics is the concept of self-organization. So when there are multiple entities of a complex systems which somehow, by following simple rules, they managed to find some internal organization without having anybody telling them what to do. So it's a kind of an example of spontaneous emergence. So I see my interactions with this field in going in both directions. On one side, seeing some of this stuff being implemented to solve actual problems or to improve specific things like in energy, mobility. It's a way also for us to see how valid some of our paradigms were somehow, or what we're able to, how we are able somehow to predict what's going to happen there and to validate then some of our assumptions. On the other hand, since we've been working on this, at least for the initial phase, maybe also for later, I think that we're able somehow also to give valuable input on somehow the best way to put these things together, to see what is the best way for people to interact, and especially since I have a big interest in social network analysis, how really the social interactions between the components of this social collective intelligence should take place. So this is where I see I could contribute, and I'm very excited to see what's going to happen in the next few years.